You're listening to Happy Healthy Hormones with Dr. Chris. Are you tired of the short-term patch to your health problems? Is avoiding medications and surgeries important to you? If you answered yes, then your prayers have been answered. Dr. Chris has been helping people transform their health for over a decade. He's a world-renowned health expert who specializes in holistic health. He's a professional speaker, chiropractor, and international best-selling author. It's his mission to help you reach your full God-given potential through holistic health and healing. Get ready to be inspired and transformed. Here's your host, Dr. Chris.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode where disease takes a dive and people come to thrive. Today we're going to be talking to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to diarrhea. So this could be a touchy subject for sure. This actually affects more people than you think. The most common being things like acute diarrhea. And in fact, actually as much as about 3% or more people that travel overseas will experience some kind of acute diarrhea. So if you've ever been there and experienced it, you know what we're talking about. I remember one time I went to Cambodia, everyone was getting sick around me. Everyone was getting this like 24 to 48 hour diarrhea bug, whatever it was, the food, the water, you name it. I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to kick this thing. My immune system is strong. And then boom, it hit me. And it was one of the most miserable things I could experience. And so if you've ever been there, you know what we're talking about. But the problem is those types of diarrhea and problems are easy to fix. And those are things that are easy to overcome without having to be on medication. But the thing that becomes a problem is when chronic diarrhea persists. That's really a cause of a bigger underlying problem. And while those symptoms can be hampered or helped with things like medications, it's not a long-term fix. And it'll create other problematic problems with your body, with your health. And so we really want to help you get to the bottom of that today. I want to teach you how to do some things immediately that can help with diarrhea. So if you're having that acute crisis, what you can do without having to be on a medication for that. But then I also want you to understand what's going on with your body and what you can do if you're getting the chronic diarrhea. So when you look at diarrhea, one of the more problematic things is that it can cause dehydration and nutrient deficiencies if it's not properly addressed. But what really causes chronic diarrhea? So digestive diseases such as irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, SIBO, and even ulcerative colitis, just to name a few, can cause chronic diarrhea, but it can also be cyclical. So you could go weeks or months without it, and then it comes back and it lasts for weeks or months. So the good news is there are several steps you can take naturally to treat both types of diarrhea, the acute and the chronic, and will actually help you get yourself to where you're hydrated again, your symptoms of diarrhea go away, and you're not having to constantly worry about that because it can really become a chronic issue socially too. I have patients that'll come into me and they'll be like, Dr. Chris, one of my goals is just to be able to go out and enjoy my friends, my family, but I find myself not wanting to travel, not wanting to go out because when this hits me, I got to be within feet of a bathroom and it starts to affect people's psyche just as much as their gut. So let's look into this a little bit more. If you're not already familiar with symptoms that are typical to diarrhea, here are some of the most common: frequent bowel movements, having to go to the bathroom more than a couple times a day, watery feces, that loose stool, abdominal pains, the stomach bloating. Sometimes you can get even nausea and vomiting associated with it as well. Loss of appetite, trouble eating enough, or even weight loss. A lot of increased thirst. Sometimes symptoms of a fever can even go on depending on what's causing the diarrhea. And then obviously all kinds of symptoms of dehydration, weakness, brain fog, upset stomachs, dizziness, even blood pressure changes. So learning what to do to really prevent it is key in the future, but also the underlying causes of the condition. Now, diarrhea can develop from various different reasons, including dehydration, illnesses, food poisoning. Those are some of the more acute problems. But children, infants, and adults, even the elderly, can develop diarrhea for different reasons. And so if you're not properly digesting foods, if you have leaky gut syndrome, a lot of emotional stress, not drinking enough water throughout the day, these things can all create problems. Now, there are different risk factors for diarrhea, things like bacterial infections. This is one of the most common things, bacterial infections and what's called SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. So this really affects your microbiome. And this is basically all the gut health and how your body is interacting. And your gut health is directly responsible for other areas of your body, your cardiovascular health, your hormone health, your nervous system health. I mean, it can go on and on with the different types of body systems that are affected simply from your microbiome being out of whack. But also we look at things like food allergies. So maybe your lactose intolerance, maybe you have certain sensitivities to different foods. It can be tricky. And you can even start to emerge some of these food allergies from changes in your hormones, like changes in pregnancy. You can get some of the more acute things like drinking contaminated water, the food poisoning we talked about. But then if you also have chronic issues with digestion or digestive health, then one of the side effects eventually could become diarrhea, but you're usually going to have a lot of other bigger problems because of that. So poor digestive health can be related to conditions like the IBS, the irritable bowel, autoimmune diseases like Crohn's disease. But then there's also some things like, eating unripe or overripe fruit, eating too much greasy foods. Maybe you eat, too much dairy, caffeine, alcohol. A lot of things emotional stress can do to people. I just had a patient come into me yesterday complaining about low back pain. And as we started to uncover what was different in her life, the one thing that came down to it being was emotional stress. And she had no idea that emotional stress would create pain in her body, especially like low back or mid back pain between the shoulders. And that's exactly where it was coming from. She had additional stress of some family issues that were going on. And she just thought that, hey, she had done something that just miraculously came on and it had to do with her spine or pulled muscle. But no, it was actually coming from the stress. So stress plays a big role in all areas of our life, especially when it comes to our digestive health. So there are certain medications too that'll create diarrhea or bad digestion. Things like antibiotics, quinidine, there's cholecystines, there's all kinds of different medications, but even taking too much vitamin C or magnesium can even do the same thing too. So here's the deal. Remember, it's not normal for anyone to have diarrhea. It's not normal for infants or babies to have bowel movements that are softer than those of adults. Their stool might also become different colors at times, but it shouldn't happen more than once daily. So again, if we're getting these things a lot in babies, not normal, definitely not normal in adults as well. But the more conventional ways to stop diarrhea typically is to take anti-diarrhea medications. So these medications are also known as anti-motility medicines, and they can help shut down diarrhea symptoms quickly, but this isn't always a good thing because diarrhea is one of the body's natural defense mechanisms for shedding toxins and microbes that have made their way into the gut that aren't supposed to be there. So it's a way of your body of purging that out. So definitely for acute diarrhea, really a good thing that happens. But for this reason, many doctors are now recommending to wait it out in acute cases of diarrhea, right? Don't go right to that medication because you'll actually create more problems long term. Now, you can also follow an elimination diet if you're suffering more from the chronic diarrhea. And these are good things that are maybe more problematic if you have certain foods, such as dairy products, that you're more sensitive to. So once you get a better idea of the suspected food, you can reintroduce those back into your diet and track whether some of these symptoms return. And you can do this with any symptom. It doesn't have to be just diarrhea with an elimination diet. It could be maybe bloating, low energy levels, certain chronic pains that you're dealing with. But elimination diets can be a really good way. And then obviously just staying hydrated. But there are some foods you can eat that are easy to digest, that are more soothing foods. Now, when we look at this and talk about this, we can also look at things like what are known as the BRAT diet, which is B-R-A-T. It stands for, can you guess? Bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. Now, while this can help with your digestive system and an upset stomach because these things are easier to digest, they can help with some of the pain relief. They can help reduce the amount of stool being produced by the body. They're not something you want to be on long term. So if you have chronic diarrhea, the BRAT diet is not a good thing to be on long term. It doesn't have enough nutrition. Your body can become basically malnourished because of that. So really be understanding of that. But it can do the short-term relief when your body is dealing with things like indigestion, diarrhea, or even vomiting. But there are some great things that you can eat that are really great. So eating lightly when you have that acute symptom, So the more food you consume, the harder your digestive system has to work. So that's going to be a really important thing to understand. But stick to more simple foods, more bland foods, whole grains, the apples, bananas, the rice, the first few days, that's part of that brat diet. These foods, again, are just easier to digest. But also flaxseed oil, this has been really shown to reduce the duration of diarrhea. Fruits and veggies, these provide water, fiber, and electrolytes, all good things. So you can make a smoothie or even a sorbet with fruit, even steaming veggies to make them easier to digest, all great sources. And they're going to be low on the sugar. Now, here's the deal too. Raw honey and ginger, a lot of times people find that the amount of honey and ginger root added to herbal teas helps soothe their stomach and reduce irritation. So just, again, these are for more of those chronic, or for the more of those acute things. But what foods can create diarrhea on a regular basis? Well, conventional dairy, it's especially because it's processed, it can be harder to digest and make diarrhea worse. However, raw cultured dairy can be a really good healing thing for your digestive system, such as raw yogurt, kefir, things that are high in probiotics can really support that bowel function. And then, you want to really look out too for any potential allergens. So this could be all kinds of things from gluten, nuts, shellfish, the dairy that we talked about. And then really staying away from processed fats and oils. Too much of these things will even create a sensitive stomach and make diarrhea worse. So although these might be some of your favorite foods, the fast foods, the cheesy foods, these are going to be things that are going to create more problems, the fried foods as well. Now, a lot of added sugar and artificial sweeteners, these are going to make bacteria run rampant because bacteria feed off of these things. And even a lot of these artificial sugars can create more digestive problems. In fact, there's one sugar out there that is made from chicory root. Well, chicory root is a great sweetener, but it is like all fiber. So if you're taking that thing a lot, wondering, geez, what the heck's going through me? It's the chicory root. It's high fiber. So caffeine's another thing that can stimulate more of the digestive tract, the alcohol. But just remember, stay hydrated. That's one of the biggest things. And one of the great things that I love, you can, obviously water is one of the best things, but you can also do something like coconut water to get some of those electrolytes back. Fresh vegetable juice is another great way to eat that as well and get that nutrition in. When we look at that, one of the things I love is bone broth. So bone broth is a brat diet alternative because it's really rich in vital nutrients that are really going to support your gut and your immune system, but it also helps with the growth of probiotics in your gut and supports healthy inflammation levels in your digestive system. So it's just easier to digest. It's going to soothe your digestive system, which is going to make it one of the most perfect foods when you do have diarrhea. But it also has healing properties for the long-term chronic digestive problems. So you're going to get the nutrients you need, but because it's in a liquid form, it's easier on the stomach, doesn't have to be broken down as much, and you can use protein powder made from bone broth to make and preparing nutrient-rich foods, even things like those smoothies. Now, number 2 that I like is also probiotic foods, and I talked about those a little bit already. But according to research from the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology, the vast majority of published trials show a statistically significant benefit of probiotic strains. A lot of times things like Lactobacillus, GG, and S. boulardii in the treatment of diarrhea. So those probiotic-rich foods, awesome. On average, probiotics were able to reduce the duration of diarrhea by approximately 1 day in one study, and they may even help in providing the body with food, bacteria, and fighting off infections and other causes of diarrhea. So long story short, it's going to help in the now, but it's also going to help with long-term potential problems with having diarrhea. So I think some of the greatest probiotic foods are those fermented foods: sauerkraut, the kimchi, kombucha, natto, apple cider vinegar, miso, and raw yogurt, all great. Number 3 is going to be oats. Now, this is soluble fiber, and the reason soluble fiber is such a good thing for things like loose stools is it helps absorb the excess fluid in the bowels, and it's going to add bulk to your loose stools. So oats are also gluten-free. They're highly soluble fiber. They're going to help firm up that stool, sweep through the digestive tract, pulling up toxins and waste along the way. But it's also helpful to soak your oats overnight, which is really going to reduce the anti-nutrients and enzymes that can disturb nutrient absorption and digestion. So a lot of research suggests that Bulking agents like oat bran can be employed as a natural diarrhea remedy as well. Now, we talked about bananas in the brat diet. That's number 4 here. Easy to digest. They have a high level of potassium, which helps replace lost electrolytes, which is really important for the body when you're losing lots of fluids. But research has found that unripe green bananas are beneficial when you have diarrhea. So green bananas contain digestive resistant starches that feed healthy bacteria in the gut. So they don't make you gassy and they help add bulk to your stool. So that's pretty cool, right? So maybe you might not like the taste of the green banana as much, but hey, when you have diarrhea and you're having blowouts, hey man, you want whatever you can get. This is a great natural source for that as well. You can even cook the green bananas. You simply just place the green bananas, water and salt in a pot, bring it to a boil, then reduce the heat, let it simmer for about 5 minutes until the bananas are tender. Then just drain the water, eat the bananas plain or with another food, like the oatmeal, another anti-diarrhea food. Now, I also like number 5, which is vegetable juice, especially with carrots and other root vegetables. So this is really important because you want to boost your immune system when you have diarrhea. It'll help you also recover faster. But here's the deal. Drinking vegetable juices that provide a range of just different vital vitamins and minerals can be really beneficial, and it'll help so that your symptoms don't worsen. But the root vegetables are really healing foods, and they can soothe the digestive system. So when you combine foods like carrots, celery, spinach, and ginger, they all have those alkaline minerals that'll nourish the intestine system, remove toxins from the body. And carrot juice, for example, provides a lot of vitamin A, C, D, E, and K, as well as magnesium, potassium, and calcium. And it has high fiber content, which again adds to that bulk stool. So just some really cool things you can do there to implement that's not really hard to get a hold of. Now, number 6, sweet potatoes. If you're looking for foods that help stop diarrhea, stock up on your sweet potatoes. Now, me, I love sweet potatoes. Sweet potato fries, cooked sweet potatoes, doesn't matter. Sweet potatoes are my food. But here's the thing. They're extremely versatile, and they possess a high nutritional value. Now, sweet potatoes are going to be a really strong anti-inflammatory food that are packed with all kinds of minerals like potassium, vitamin A, C, B6. In fact, just 180 grams of sweet potatoes contain 692% of your daily recommended value of vitamin A. However, your white potatoes contain 0%. So they're definitely more nutritious than white potatoes. They're still going to provide that insoluble fiber, helping firm up some stool there, reduce the symptoms of diarrhea. Compared with the white potatoes, they have a lower score in the glycemic load. Those sweet potatoes do. But I love those for sure. Now, we talked about flaxseed already a little bit. 2015 study found that flaxseed oil was able to reduce the castor oil-induced diarrheal score of mice by 84%. So it's great. I mean, you can put this in your smoothie. You can just take a tablespoon of it. It'll help boost your immune system too. A lot of other great benefits to that. We talked about ginger already, putting those things in our teas with a little bit of honey. Great for aiding in relieving the digestive system. I can't stress this enough. Most people are not drinking enough water. This is number 9. Water is huge. So mild and severe diarrhea can result in the loss of a dangerously large amount of fluids. It might not seem like it at the time, but your body's going to be super dehydrated. So you want to be about 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. A helpful rule of thumb is drink at least 1 glass of water every time you have a loose bowel movement. That'll really help try to replace that stuff. And then I love this, is number 10 is peppermint oil, a real great essential oil. I myself have peppermint oil several times a day because I use this in place of having gum or a breath mint, is I just put a drop of peppermint oil in. And now this will reduce bowel inflammation, soothe the digestive tract, reduce loose stool, but it also has a cooling sensation in the body. So this is really key. In fact, a lot of studies show that peppermint oil is effective in relieving abdominal pain in people with diarrhea because of its anti-spasmodic properties. So it doesn't allow your digestive system to seize up, which is cool, especially if you're having those chronic or acute conditions. Now, we talked about some foods to eliminate already, so I'm not going to get into that anymore. But understand really, why are things like the brat diet so important in the beginning? Well, the reason it's so important in the beginning is because it induces includes binding foods that are low in fiber. They can help to make your stool firmer. But here's the deal. We talked about that not being on those things long term. So, be on the diet, especially like maybe for a toddler and adults, it's fine for the first 24 hours or so, maybe even 48 hours. But if things persist longer than that, then you need to do something different. And if it persists more than a few days, then you need to seek some help for that. And, it might be going to the doc, it might be going to a naturopath, whatever, just to get some bigger answers. But at the end of the day, chronic diarrhea is where the real problem is. Because here's the problem is when you have chronic diarrhea, it's a bigger underlying problem. And the only way you can really start to help that is not just by taking some supplements here and there. It might help short term, but it's not going to fix a long-term problem. You've got to get specific when you're looking for the chronic issues. So we've given you a lot of solutions today for the acute diarrhea, the ones that are maybe happening, the 24 to 72 hours. But when we're talking chronic, you need to get tested for what's going on. First off, every time I hear that with somebody, we got to get some stool testing done. Now, specific testing, some genetic stool testing. And this is going to be key. This is some of the most cutting edge testing. And when you do this genetic testing, stool testing, you'll be able to see specifically what areas of your body systems are being affected, not just your digestive health. Because different areas of our digestive health and our microbiome tell us a story about all these other areas of our body. It'll tell us about our neurological health. It'll tell us about our cardiovascular health, whether we're absorbing things, our hormonal health. I mean, you name it, it will tell us the world. It's like the map of your body, so to speak. And so that's really where it starts. And so you need to do that. Some people might even need to do a SIBO test. So this is actually the first one is a stool test. The SIBO test is actually a test you take by capturing air and particles from the upper part of your digestive system. So when you can take both of those together, you'll get a really good picture of what's going on with your digestive health and really seeing what you can do to laser focus things to help repair your digestive system. Because a lot of times you could do a shotgun approach and get some decent results. But if you have things that are more chronic, you don't want to mess around with this. You don't want this to turn into a 12 to 24 month process because you're guessing. You want to get this getting some results now. You want that 3 to 6 month process or sooner to get some resolve. And so that's really where it's all about. So if you're struggling with that, that's the first place you can go. Then you can kind of dial in specifically what do you need to do for your specific digestive system. You need to do things to support the digestive system, to kill off the bad things without killing off the good things, to help recolonate your microbiome, to help your body start to heal again on its own, give your body what it needs, be able to focus on which certain foods can you have, can't you have, start to identify if you're sensitive to certain foods. But we don't want to just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I had this one gal come in. She had been dealing with digestive systems for over 20 years, from diarrhea, alternating between that and constipation, bloating, low energy levels, and she could never get a hold of it. She tried all kinds of different supplements. We finally did the right testing, because she'd done testing too, but it was always that kind of inconclusive thing. We figured out where the problems were. We catered a specific game plan to her, and then within about 3 months, she was starting to get resolved with all these issues. 6 months later, she wasn't having the diarrhea anymore. She was having regular bowel movements. Her energy levels were through the roof. She wasn't embarrassed to go out in public or do things with her friends or go on long road trips, being afraid that she was going to have to leave at any second to go have this explosive diarrhea or this irritable bowel. And it changed her life. And that's what it's all about. It's about getting to the cause of your problems so that you're not constantly just chasing the next supplement that'll give you this short-term relief, but getting the long-term solution so you can have the long-term fun in your life. Because that's what life is about. It's about having fun. It's about helping other people. It's about just enjoying life to the fullest. And when you're struggling with things like digestive health, diarrhea, other things that are a chronic issue in your life, then that really hampers your full potential and you reaching that and doing the things you enjoy with your family, your friends, and your loved ones. So if you're struggling with these things, if you need help, hey, reach out to us. We can always do a virtual consultation with you, see if there's things we can do to help you. We work with people virtually all over the world, and we'll sit down and really figure out the cause. And if we can find the cause for you, hey, great. We'll get you some answers. If I can't find the cause for you, hey, I'll let you know that too. I'm all about not wasting people's time because I value my time just as much as anyone else's or your own or mine. Like, I want to respect that. So I feel like too many people get told a lot of things, go to a lot of doctors, and waste a lot of time and a lot of money. So here's the thing. Number one, if you have the acute, just to recap, acute diarrhea, there's some simple things you can do without having to be on medications. We don't want to repress that or suppress that because it will actually create longer term solutions. So get into some of those natural solutions. If you have the chronic problems, find the cause of it. Just don't keep going by the next medication or the next supplement that you think is going to help you. Start to make some changes a day. Reach out for us if you need some help. And remember, your body needs no help healing. It just needs no interference. Find the interference. Let your body heal. Have a blessed day.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please help more people in reaching their fullest potential and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to newedgewellness.com.